Hey, what's up, everybody? It's good to be back with you on a Wednesday night. I appreciate everybody's prayers for me and my back. I appreciate that. Had injections last week and going to physical therapy now, and I'm getting better. So I appreciate everybody's prayers about that. Tonight, I wanted the opportunity to talk to you about this particular guidepost, and it's planning for multiplication. Planning for multiplication. One of the key factors of a good, healthy missional community group is that they are perpetually thinking about multiplication. Now, let me illustrate what I mean by that. We want to see the gospel in missional community work like a movement, a progression, or a moving forward. And I wanted to illustrate it this way. I'm going to give you a behind-the-scenes look at, first of all, my notes, deep and profound, but what I want to illustrate for you is what I mean by plan for multiplication or a movement, okay? So we'll start here. So this is your missional community right here, right? You guys are gathered up right now. This is your group, okay? When we talk about plan for multiplication, here's what we mean. There's a hope that currently, right now in your missional community, that the Lord will raise up more leaders for more missional communities. And we're hoping and believing for, or at least the guidepost is, that we're planning for there to be another missional community come out of the one that you're in right now, which has implications, right? We need shared leadership. We need host families. We need people to embrace a new mission, a new people group that needs to be reached, and so on and so on. But that's our hope. And so the Jeff Vanderstelt and the Saturate guys generally say about a year of being together and then plan for a new group to come out of that group. Now watch what happens. What will happen is, if this is your situation, this group is going to become two. And so what happens is there's a split here, and an intentional split, not a bad one like you normally experience in churches. But there's a split. And we, for the sake of more people and more mission, this one becomes two. And so it kind of looks like that, right? Now, this one that was, okay, it's gone, obviously, because it's become different. But this group has made two now, okay? And so here we go. What happens if that, in a year, that one becomes two? And you can kind of see what we're talking about when we start talking about multiplication. We've got 4 missional community groups now. 1, 2, 3, 4. We started with 1. We've got 4 in just a rapid, real simple. Let's say it took 2 years to raise up different people. So at its heart, or at its core, when we talk about multiplication, that's what we're thinking about. Okay, we're not wanting to stay together in this one particular group forever, because that doesn't forward the mission of God. You don't have leadership raised up. You don't have new people reached. You don't have new families. And then you say, well, why would we want to get smaller if we're really enjoying the fellowship that we're having together? And here's why you want to do that. It's a term called urgency, okay? If you break up, or let's say get into a smaller group, and there's 8 of you or 6 of you or whatever, there's going to be more of an urge or an urgency to go reach some new people. What happens right now when missional community groups, or any group for that matter, is large or big, we're really comfortable when we're large and big. And there's nothing wrong with being large and big, but in regards to multiplication, or in regards to the mission or the movement of the gospel, we need to continue moving forward. And at some point, it makes sense, right? Like, well, if we just keep adding people to the group, at some point it's no longer a small group. It's no longer a place where you can create family because the room's too big. And what will begin to happen is people will stop coming because it doesn't feel like family. If they wanted a large group setting, they come to Sunday morning. And so we've got to think with multiplication in mind, which means we need new leaders, we need new homes, and we need, in order to see that happen, new mission fields. All right. So that's one. This guidepost tonight is about missional community discovering that. So let me illustrate it by talking about a mathematical term called the derivative. Back in the day, I used to be decent at math. All right, used to be good. All right, so some people are good at math, some people are not. Some people like to read, some people don't. Some people are good at science, some people aren't. I just happen to be somebody that was good at math. It became natural to me. When I went to college at the Oklahoma State University, I bypassed Algebra 1 and went straight to Calc 1. And until somebody introduced me to Bud Light in a bottle, I was making an A in that class. I was doing pretty good. But it's amazing what drinking every night and 1 month binge will do to your GPA. It'll destroy it. Just FYI. So anyway, I learned in that class, Calc 1 is all about finding the derivative. You say, what's a derivative? The derivative is the rate of change at any given point based on variables. Okay? Now, you don't know it, or maybe you do know it. I don't want to insult anybody's mathematical intelligence, but maybe you do know it. You use the derivative every day. We use the derivative every day. It's found in our speedometer. Okay? When you set the cruise at 65 miles an hour, that formula that has created for you to know that you're doing 65 miles an hour was out of the derivative. It's out of calculus. What it's telling you is that this particular amount of fuel that you're giving your motor and everything that goes along, all the components that go along with it, 65 miles an hour, this is how fast you're going at this particular point. Right now, it's 65. The rate of change is 65 miles an hour. Now, if you bump your speedometer up to 70, you add a little more fuel, so you change a variable, and your rate of change increases. You back off the throttle, your rate of change decreases. So as the variables change, this is the rate of change at any given point. Okay, you may say, why does that matter? Well, let's say you want to conserve fuel. Well, at 65 miles an hour, you get 25 miles a gallon, right? Well, at 70 miles an hour, you get 22. So what would you rather have? Arrive 5 minutes earlier, or would you rather have a little bit more fuel? Well, that's your decision, and you can make it. But it's calculus that has given you the option of how you want to go about that. What I want to talk to you about tonight is just the rate of change that we're experiencing in our missional communities. What is our rate of change right now? Are we in this movement, or in this missional community movement, are we progressing forward? And if we are, what is our rate of change? How quickly are we progressing forward? Or are we not progressing forward at all? So you can say we may be decreasing along the curve. We may be increasing and moving towards what the Lord wants for us. Or have we just simply plateaued? Now, I don't have time tonight to go into all of the different ways that we can evaluate this, okay? You can evaluate this in your own walk with the Lord. But for tonight, what I want to do, to the best that I can in the remaining few minutes that we have left, is just kind of think through some of the ways that we can calculate how we're doing in our rate of change currency. So let's think about a couple of things. Rate of change, right? Are we progressing towards multiplication? So think about dividing the group into two, right? Well, how are we doing with creating family in the group? Okay, are we seeing more of us getting together outside the weekly meeting and creating, again, I don't like this term, but I'm going to use it, organic relationships? Or are we primarily just a group who has gotten together on a Wednesday for an hour gathering, and then we go back into our separate ways? Evaluate that tonight. What's the rate of change that we're having moving towards becoming more like family? Okay, how's that? How are we doing with that tonight? Or how's our missional community doing with that? Now, you may say, "Yeah, it's family. I just started coming, and I love it. It's like family." Praise the Lord for that. that's a step in the right direction towards creating family. But we all know that family is going to be created outside of just 1 hour a week, right? So how are we doing with that? Maybe it's about serving. How are we doing with serving one another? How are we doing with serving in the missional community group? Let's think about that for a moment. How are we doing with helping to facilitate a missional community life? Are we giving? Let's start with some low-hanging fruit. Are we attending? Are we engaged, present, and ready to go? Right? Are we serving in that capacity? Are we do we have a majority of our group participating in the meal? It's a good thing to think about. And what about? And this is an issue for us right now. What about host families? Okay, our host homes. Let me say, how are we doing with that? Are we seeing more people readily opening up their homes? And if so, or if not, why? And if so, how do we increase that? All right, something to think about in just serving one another. Think through that. How are we doing? Multiplication. We're prepping for multiplication. What if our group in 2 or 3 years is 4 groups? What homes do we need to be exploring and looking into? And lastly, what about leadership? How serving? How many of us are thinking about the day when, wonder what it would look like if I started my own group? What mission would I go on? What people would be involved? How am I doing with that? Am I involved and engaged in the mission that we have selected? And then which leads into the last one about mission. How are we doing in our mission? Now, this has been tough for both groups, just FYI. As a matter of fact, I'm considering doing a little boot camp about this summer because, man, and it's not just us, it's at least we're trying. Let me just say it that way. Guys, take courage and comfort. I say comfort's a bad word. Encouragement in the fact that we are a body that is at least trying to be on mission. Because a lot of churches aren't even trying. Okay, so praise be to God for that. But I want to do more than just try. I want to get good at it. And so this part about mission and walking with the group, it's confusing to us because we've never seen it modeled or done. But keep trudging. Keep moving forward. What's the rate of change we're having in mission? Are we in decline, or are we heading in the right direction? There's a lot I could say about that. I'm already at almost 13 minutes, and so I just want to kind of land the plane. So tonight what we're thinking about is missional community as movement, not destination. Missional community moving forward. You look at your group tonight. We got to be thinking about, okay, we're thinking about raising up new leaders to be able to take and to divide us into 2 so that we can saturate our area, okay? So that we can saturate the gospel influence throughout the places and spaces we go. Really fast, let's take our model here real quick. You see how this is perpetuating itself? Well, let's say, and then I'm literally going to draw this and I'm going to let you talk, okay? Let's say we take, and I know this isn't the shape of it, but it's, I don't know. I don't know. This might be. Well, I drew a cross. I don't know why, but let's say that's Hughes County. Okay, Hughes County. I labeled it, and let's say your missional community group, MC, is in the middle. There's your missional community. Now, let's say that that's it. There's no other. I mean, it's just you. Just your group. Well, for the sake of our illustration, we got 2 groups. Okay, in Hughes County right now, there are 2 missional community groups. Okay, but let's say we think about planning for multiplication, and we can begin to see really rapidly how we can spread. I'm messing this up a little bit, and so on, and so on. And so on, and so on, really quick. Do you see how things begin to change pretty rapidly? Right? So, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, what can we see? Say, prep for multiplication. I gotta go. I did my best. Love you. And man, you want to be here Sunday. I'm telling you. Message is I'm really excited about. So love you. I got to go. I'm taking too long. God bless. Bye.